Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling to order the regular Tuesday meeting for March the 13th, 2012. We have the invocation by Commissioner Todd and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Morrow.
Please stand. Father, we are here today to ask for your blessing and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen.
Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Mayor, may I move that we amend the agenda to recognize Alfred Combs, Milton McGill, and Billy Thomas of Public Works and Utilities Department? Second motion.
I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Okay. Under presentation and delegations, first we want to recognize Martin Sands of the Griffin Airport as February 2012 Strongest Link Award recipient. I think he came before. Good evening.
I'd like to present here our first part of the triumvirate out at the airport. We've got, as most of you recall, we honored Will Stevens as the employee of Lincoln Exchange a couple of months ago. This is actually the workhorse behind the scenes. Martin handles all the business activities, whereas Will handles all the outside airfield operations. Not much I can say about Martin other than he is probably the strongest link in our chain. He's cross-trained, and has routinely performed the general duties of an airport ground lineman to include radio checks, light checks, FOD checks, pull-out and pushback service, refueling aircraft, and aircraft marshaling. That's all in addition to what his normal duties are of finance record keeping, the billings for all the tenants out at the airfield, making sure all the records and reports to finance and GDOT and FAA and everybody are correct and have the correct numbers. But is in the area of the cross-training in which I'm having him recognized here tonight. When our lineman was out on paternity leave for a couple of weeks, Martin stepped up without any kind of notice or anything. He just did it, and he was the lineman, he was the business manager, he did it all out there. So if I was downtown, or if I was at a meeting in Atlanta, Martin handled it all, and I really couldn't have done it without him. He did it without reservation or complaint. He successfully covered both his daily duties and those critical to the ground lineman functions necessary in providing a safe and reliable customer service experience. Martin is indeed a valuable member of the Griffin Spalding Airport team. His contribution is a key factor in the overall success of conducting and accomplishing our mission and providing the safest and most efficient airport facility possible. With that, I present Martin Sands. And Miles came out earlier this evening, and he got our plaque for him and the gift card. There you go. I probably need to go here and do a picture.
We just got a chain. Gotta give him a chain, Rob. Gotta give him his chain.
The chain is over here.
I told Mark he's got to wear this for the month. Now he works out, so he'll be able to handle it.
The small team that we have out there is just for teamwork, and thanks for the kind words. I hope you guys because that's long. I was thinking, like I said, teamwork, and without all this pulling away from what, we get it done. I really appreciate it, being recognized for it. It's not 80-20, like in other departments where, you have 8% or 20% staff people, 80% of work. We all look up right up. We really all kick in, and I really appreciate the team. I want to thank for it.
Thank you. Okay, and next recognize Alfred Combs, Milton McGill, and Billy Thomas of Public Works and Utility Department.
Yes, Chris Walker is going to handle this. Several weeks ago, I received a letter from one of our constituents, and she wrote to me and she said, because this is so important to me, I decided to send this note to someone who I was sure would dig to the bottom of the pile and find out who the pat on the back and the thank you belonged. My purse was stolen from my office today. It had to have happened in a matter of mere seconds. I have a feeling that my building was cased yesterday when I helped a man who came in off the street hungry and hopeless. This is what he told me, and if that is true, he will answer for that one day. The good news is that a city worker spotted my dumped purse at the corner of 4th and Wall Street, literally. They collected everything they saw, and because I had a pay stub, were able to return it to me almost immediately. The police were still working with me on the investigation when my purse arrived. I am so disappointed in myself that I was busy getting cards canceled, etc. I did not get his name or department. He even offered to go back with me to look for the one thing that was missing, and that was the most important to me. My friend and I later went back and found my father's World War II dog tag. I know sometimes stories like this get talked about at the workplace. My hope is that you will pass this letter on to someone who can actually find out who this gentleman is and thank him for me. We are indeed fortunate to have someone of this caliber working for our city. He could have tossed my purse in the truck and dropped it at the police station. He didn't. He went out of his way to find me. I know that's not necessarily important. It's signed Connie Gill, who lives in the district that I represent. And so she wanted to make sure that the workers were recognized for the good work that they did, and the fact that the most important thing, her father's World War II dog tags, she was able to find those. Chris, give it to you now.
I'd like to say thank you, Billy. Billy's been with us 23 years, between the golf course and street department. The other two gentlemen had previous plans, one of them working, the other one was at a nursing home. So they weren't able to be here, but I'll take care of them tomorrow. This is a gift certificate from Ms. Gill. This is your certificate of recognition for the city. But I would like to say thank you again for doing what you do every day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is Ms. Gill here? Okay. I had left her a message to let her know we were going to do this.
Okay. Next, Attorney Michelle Stump will make a presentation regarding responsible alcohol sales and service.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Michelle Stumpy, and I've been asked to come and give a short presentation to you about responsible alcohol sales and service workshops. I was asked to put something together about 10 years ago by Cobb County. They wanted to provide some type of training for their owners and licensees, because they found that a lot of the owners and licensees, they had copies of the laws, but they really didn't understand them, and they needed somebody that they could learn from, and then somebody they could ask questions to. So we developed a workshop that has been going on in Cobb County for a number of years and has now been mandated in a number of other jurisdictions. And I've been asked to come and just give a brief presentation about what we cover in those workshops, and then answer any questions that you might have. I did give each of you in front of your chair should have been a one-page summary, and that really just outlines everything that we cover. It's typically about a 3-hour class. I am an attorney. I've been working with alcohol licensing issues for the past 18 years. And I've worked with a number of jurisdictions in helping them revamp their alcohol ordinances in my capacity with the Georgia Council on Alcohol and Drugs, and I do that work with them and do a lot of pro bono work with different task forces as well. So what we do in the workshop, and I will mention to you, I know that there's some consideration about mandating these classes. Every jurisdiction that I talk to has a little bit of a concern about mandating something like this and how the retailers are going to respond. And I'll tell you that at every class we do a feedback form, and I ask people often when they get there if they really want to be there. And about 98-99% say they don't. They're pretty honest about it. They don't want to be there, they didn't want to come, and they really think that they know everything there is to know about selling alcohol. They think it's pretty straightforward. Yet at the end of the class, over the 10 years, over 98% of people have said that they learned something they didn't know, that they thought the class was very good or excellent, and that they would highly recommend other people to attend. So it is something that, while a lot of retailers may or may not necessarily want to attend when they first come, they are usually glad that they did. About half of the class is spent on those first two topics that you see, legal issues and research. And one of the first things that we talk about is kind of really getting them to understand what motivates their employees. And I always start with kind of an analogy, asking them why they think their employees are going to abide by the law. And pretty much everybody says, well, it's the law, and they don't want to have to pay the consequences. And I'll ask them, well, do you ever speed? And pretty much everybody says yes. And I'll say, well, do you like the consequences when you get a ticket? No, but you still do it. It's the law, and there's consequences, and you don't like them, but you still do it. So why do you think your employees are any different? And so then we start talking about how we can motivate our employees. We talk about the research, and then I ask them if they wear their seatbelts, and pretty much everybody does. Why do you wear your seatbelt? Because it's safe. Well, I understand that law. If you understand the law, you're more likely to abide by it. So we spend some time talking about why it's important not to sell alcohol to minors, how alcohol affects minors differently, how minors tend to get involved in more accidents, they tend to get involved in more crimes, basically the statistics that are affected with respect to minors and consumption. The next part we talk about is the legal issues, and this runs the gamut. We talk about the fact that they can't go out if they run out of alcohol on a Monday night. They can't go over to the Kroger or to the package store and get more alcohol. They have to get it from a licensed wholesaler or distributor. We talk about the fact that they can't, if I'm in a convenience store or grocery store, I can't refund alcohol. You can't exchange alcohol in Georgia. And we go over a lot of the state laws, and then we go over the local laws, and we talk about the city's laws and the county's laws, because every county and every city in Georgia is different. And so we give them a summary that summarizes the important aspects of their local laws. Maybe in one jurisdiction it's important that they have certain signs posted. In another jurisdiction it might be important for them to know that they can't have BYOB in a restaurant. So we go over those issues as well. And everybody gets one of these books, and you'll see it's about a 50-page, 45-page book that summarizes all the different issues that we talk about. We let them take this with them so that they've got it as a resource. I always give them my phone number at the end of the class, tell them, give me a call if you have a question. I can probably answer it in 5 minutes, and then I can send you a bill because you attended this class. So they get that book that they take with them. After we spend about an hour and a half talking about the legal issues in the research, we then move into the practical side of it, because knowing the law is one thing, but getting your employees to abide by it's another. And I've worked with a number of different researchers and the administrative hearing officer at the Department of Revenue, and have determined what strategies, what are the best practices in a business to ensure compliance. And so we talk to them about those things, and we give them everything that they need. So for example, when we talk to them about policy, we have a checklist in this book, so that they can just check off those things, they can type it in, and they've got a best practices policy. They don't have to call me, they don't have to call another attorney to hire them to do it for them. They've got all the tools they need right here. Then we talk to them about training and what's important about training, and where there's a lot of flaws in some of the training programs and things that they can still use, but they need to address the fact that a lot of these training programs don't talk about the local laws, and that's important for them to know. So we go over, as you can see, there's 9 or 10 different areas that we talk about that need to be covered, and we talk to them about how they cover those things. And then finally, we address the issue of monitoring and how They're never going to have compliance if they don't monitor their employees. It's just like you can post the speed limit, but if you don't ever have police officers out there enforcing the speed limit, then you're going to have a lot of people out there speeding. And so we talk about monitoring. We talk to them, give them some inexpensive, very cost-effective ways to monitor their employees and provide them with a lot of different opportunities to understand what the best ways are to monitor their employees to ensure compliance. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. One of the things we do is we also give them handouts. And just as an example, one of the things that I've found, and from my discussions with the police officers, is that about 80% of the people who fail compliance checks asked for the ID and they sold it anyway. And what we've determined is that a lot of these employees don't know the difference between what a minor's ID looks like and an adult's ID looks like. And in the class, I'll hold up these two IDs and I'll ask them, are these minors or are they adults? And then I put them down and pretty much everybody says, I didn't see it long enough. And then we say, well, yes, you did, because a minor's ID is vertical for the new ones. It's red for the old ones. So you have a policy that says red means stop, vertical means stop. If you see one of these IDs, you don't sell. And we give these to the owners so that they can take these back and they can share these with their employees. So that's the types of information that we provide, and I'm available to answer any questions that you might have. Happy to do that.
I have a question, if I may. I heard your presentation out at the UGA Gardens, and I was most impressed. And I'm sort of an anti-mandatory guy, but you made a great point. The only reservation I really have about it is, for those who've been in this business quite a number of years and are successful, do most jurisdictions allow grandfathering if you've been in this for a number of years and you're successful, not have to do it for only new folks coming in?
Most jurisdictions do not. They do give a grace period. The majority of jurisdictions that have mandated it have said, if you've been in business, you've got 2 years or you've got 3 years to come into compliance. There are a few jurisdictions that require it for new licensees only, and then if you have a violation, will require you to attend the class. Some jurisdictions have given, I've seen one that gave kind of an incentive to attend, will knock $100 off your renewal fee if you show a certificate and you're not required to attend. So different jurisdictions handle it different ways. The majority of them do require everybody to eventually go to the class. One of the things that I found is I can't even count the number of times that I've had people come to me after the class and say, I've been in this business 25 years, and I didn't think there was anything else, but I realized now that I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. And part of that is because the laws change or practices change, and we give them a lot of kind of practical tips about strategies that kids are using now that they weren't using 5 years ago. And so, I do find that a lot of people, especially like with Cobb County, they had, I think, 900 licensees, and when they had that grace period of 2-3 years, then most of them really didn't have any problem with it and were happy that they came after they left.
Okay.
What is the cost for a participant in the class?
It's $100 for each participant to attend, and there are other providers. I'm the only one who's an attorney. That's one of the things that a lot of people do like, because like we had a class today and they always ask a lot of questions and I can answer them on the spot. But one of the things that I do is all of the profits, you'll see ours is, we've got a little gorilla on our caption. For these classes, all of the profits, everything that doesn't, except for the cost of the materials, we use to pay for scholarships in Africa. So it all goes into a nonprofit that then provides scholarships for kids in Africa. And also a lot of the retailers, if they let their insurance company know that they attended this class, a lot of the insurance companies will give them a discount on their premiums, and they'll find that they end up saving more on their premiums than they do spending the class. So
it's virtually all for owners, but could an owner send an employee? Or
an owner could send an employee. We do have a lot of owners that will send their managers. Okay. Because of the fact that there's so much discussion on policy. We do have a separate class in Douglas County. Douglas County mandates this class for owners, and they mandate a different class for employees, which is much more of the hands-on, recognizing fake IDs, recognizing signs of intoxication. And so they mandate that separate class for employees. A lot of times I'll have a group of owners that might get together and say, we'd love to do a group class for our employees, and we will do that as well. This one is specifically designed for the owners. What they found, Texas did this a while back. Texas mandated employee training, and they found that they increased compliance briefly, but then they started seeing a drop in it. And then the researchers came back and they said the problem is that it's not important to the owners and the managers. You gotta emphasize to the owners and the managers, and when they realize their liability and their responsibility, then they'll pass it down to the employees.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we'll review financials for January 2012.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
First up, the cash balances by fund. And these are as of January 31st. And a couple anomalies in here for the community development block grants. I know Mr. Morrow typically picks up on those, and those are timing differences from when we actually issue the check on the last day of the month versus when the actual cash transfers at the bank. So that's just a timing difference that has since been corrected or adjusted. Are there any questions on the cash?
There is some, that's a good thing.
Yes, sir. For now. All right, moving on to lost and splost. One major change from last month is the reversal of the on the splost side, on the second half of the sheet, the reversal of the December payment, or excuse me, the January payment. So December and January will be zero because that money goes towards the bond to cover the construction costs for the bond issuance. So that has to be settled first.
And they're up.
Yes, sir. Any questions on this? Taxes, anything? All right, moving on into the citywide financial statements. Revenues are generally marching along. Property taxes, the bulk of those revenues have been recognized for the year. We do have some more that we anticipate coming in, not too much more on the property tax side, though. Fees, charges for services are at 58%, which is about where we are in the year. Business license and permits are exceeding expectations. And our miscellaneous revenues are also above expectations. Beyond that, I don't have anything else major to discuss, other than I want to point out that while we're about 17 or 18% on capital outlay, some of those items will be coming through over the next couple months, because now is the time where we can move dirt, and we are negotiating some pretty favorable interest rates to acquire some additional capital.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Okay. Thank you, Marcus.
No surprises.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay. At this time, the chairperson opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for public hearing, or to concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinions. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for a resolution. Is there anyone to my left that would like to come forward and address the board? Please come forward. Would you please give us your name and address for the minutes?
My name is O'Shea Sanders, and I reside at 109 Quincy Avenue. I I come aboard upon y'all today because I have a concern about my community. The gang in our area is really affecting our kids. Back in December, I gave a party for my child, and the outsider, which are the gang members, came and destroyed my house, and they jumped on some kids at my house that particular day. But I was ticketed for the commotion that was going on. So I would also like to know, what can I do to get more involved to try to bring down the gangs in our area?
May I ask a question? I didn't hear your address. What street are you on?
109 Quincy Avenue.
Quincy, okay, thank you.
Well, I think the chief is taking notes back there right now, and you'll get with him and get some information.
Okay.
He can give you some direction on that, how to help out.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, I spoke with Ms. Maddox, and, anything that I can do, you're in Ms. Flowers', district, and anything that we could do, as commissioners, please call us, and we'll do everything that we can to help. And I appreciate you calling me, not knowing who district you was in. I appreciate you calling.
And even, like yesterday, 2 days ago, another gang also jumped on my 15-year-old son and took his bike, you know. So it's really getting bad in our area, and I just don't know what to do because our kids are not safe anymore to go places they want to go.
Quincy Avenue, is that
In the Fairmont district?
are you in the public housing?
No.
Is that where you are?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Section off of North South 6th Street, by Moore Elementary. Is that right by Moore Elementary?
Yes, right behind the street behind Moore.
Okay.
In looking at these gangs, can you tell if they're teenagers, or they're young adults, or what?
It's a mixture of both. It's young kids and there's adults. Yes, because when I gave the party for my kids, they are high school kids, and some of the ones that jumped on this child was like 21, and this particular child was 16 years old. So I had to do whatever I had to do to get them to stop. So I had to call the police.
Also, I want to make mention that she was not just giving a party. She was giving a party for the Bogazans, which is a pretty good group. And matter of fact, they performed for me this weekend at an event that we had. And so she was just trying to give them some kind of appreciation for the good work that they do.
And they probably weren't kids from your neighborhood, were they?
No.
So they got word of the party and decided to disrupt
came.
it.
And what was surprising to me, because they was walking by, and a couple of the kids that was at the party was standing on the porch, and they just bum rushed my porch. And then another time I had to call the officer out because we was in the house with the doors closed, keep the outsiders out. They kicked in my living room door and came in.
Did you file a police report on that?
I did not file a police report due to the fact that I got a ticket that night, so I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Right.
Well, you need to, like I say, the chief's back here taking notes. He's the man that could work with you on that neighborhood.
Okay.
That and also our city manager.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's listening here too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone on the left that would like to come forward and address the board? Is there anyone on the right that would like to come forward and address the board? Please come forward.
Shannon Heron, 413 Terrace Street. Before I say what I was going to, it grieves me to hear the lady performing, and I hope she realizes how important it is what she did tonight to come and speak to you, the ones who lead us, and you are able to connect her to the people and organizations that can help her out. And I'm just glad you came. I am here because every day on the way to work and from work, I go by Third Ward Park. And I hate it that Brant's not here to hear me say this, but it thrills me to see 15, 20, 30 people in that park on nice afternoons, kids, teenagers, parents, elderly, walking for exercise, like myself. And I just appreciate so much that this board helped to facilitate that in our community. It was something needed, and it does my heart good to see it when I go by. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the right who would like to come forward and address the board? Thank you. We'll move into, do we have a public hearing? Yeah, a public hearing. Receive comments regarding a request for a variance from section 70.31.2, building signs of the City of Griffin sign ordinance to permit 455 square feet of building signs in excess of the 15% and 220 square feet provision for property located at 1465 Highway 16 West.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
This is application 12 VAR 01, submitted by Lee Berg, representing Kroger Company. The applicant, Kroger's Company, is proposing to install a combination of building signs, a cumulative of 455 square feet, which is in excess of the allowable 220 square feet or 15% of the facade of the building for the property located at 1465 West Taylor Street. This is a new location for Kroger's. As you know, they rezoned this property back in August of last year, and have submitted development plans for the new proposed Kroger's. It's going to be going from 43,000 square feet to 94,000 square feet in terms of building. And on your staff report, you see on page 2 some illustrations of what the signage are going to look like on the elevations, as well as a similar type prototype store. And there's 3 of these in the state. There'll be 3 of these in the state with the construction of the City of Griffin's new Kroger, all in excess of 90,000 square feet. The Kroger sign that you see on page 2 is in itself is over 200 square feet. So when you take into account the signage for the coffee shops, which will be a Starbucks coffee, and the pharmacy and some of the other ancillary uses as part of the development, you see why they exceed the sign requirements. And staff, as typical, recommended denial of the request, but we did approve a similar variance request for Walmart when they came in with a new prototype signs for the new Walmart that was in excess of. And in having discussions with staff, this is something that we probably need to look at for developments that are going to potentially come into the city over the next course of how many years we're going to be redeveloping, to look at addressing this, because the 220 is for the buildings of these size and magnitude is pretty small in scope and size. So at some point in the future, we hope to bring an amendment to the sign ordinance that's going to look at buildings that are on large lots and of large size, so we won't have to always come back to you guys. These are not often, as you know. We've only done this twice for a building this size, but you know, as we redevelop, this is potentially could happen. So we want to potentially address this down in the future. But staff did recommend denial, and the representatives are here from Kroger if you have any questions.
I have some questions for you.
Yes, sir.
We did approve the one for Walmart because it was a sort of a question of how you measured with the lettering and what was actually measured. So my first question is, how's this measured, the Kroger out? Is it just where the lettering is, or the whole piece, or what?
No, in measuring the wall signs for each individual wall sign, it's going to be from the height of the lettering to the bottom, height and width. So from K to R, from the top of the round K, you're looking at it on page 2, to the bottom of that food, where it says food.
Okay.
So it basically, we rectangleize a square off that area, measure it up, and that gives you the square foot of the sign.
And secondly, what I heard you say, and this was a question I had and I read it, the Starbucks coffee or any other subtenant gets included in that 220, which is
that is correct.
The weakness in the law, as I heard.
That is correct.
Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
And next question is the sign at the street. They're still going to get a sign out by the street.
Yes.
So you really don't have to see it on the building anyway, right?
Correct, and that's
with all due respect, Kroger, we know it's a Kroger store up there because it's on the street, right?
Yes, sir, but as you know, most buildings, or all buildings, want to have that point of business sign that you see from the interstate or from the highway. but they also like to have their building signs as well, and this is typical of most developments, commercial developments, whether it be a standalone retail or individual shopping center, they all advertise building signs as well as their freestanding sign. Kroger will have a freestanding sign. Those freestanding signs will be in compliance. There will be one at the intersection at Highway 16, and that'll be a monument, and there'll be a smaller monument on Poplar Street behind the development.
So what I heard you say is you recommend denial because it's not in the letter of the law, but it is within the spirit of the law. Is that what the...
Well, yes, sir, and you know, we recognize that when this portion of the ordinance came up some time ago. I think it's hard for a development, for any variance against the sign ordinance to meet the criteria. If you read through the variance criteria, it's very difficult to meet it. I think since we've been here, there's been probably only one that's actually met the true spirit of the variance request. But in essence, you know, this is something that's not typical for us to see, to get a 94,000 square foot building inside the city limits. You know, this is typically what you see in the industrial park. So trying to give them the signage, obviously, to advertise the different components of the Kroger shopping center, because you will have a bank, you will have a pharmacy, you will have a clinic, you will have a coffee shop, and then obviously you have just the Kroger. So they're gonna want you to know what's all in there.
Okay. So the intent, or the letter of the law is that the Kroger sign would be there, but the spirit of the law is we need to accommodate the subtenants.
Yes, and when we did this, the 220 was typical, but
Got
this is an atypical building.
I hear what you're telling me.
Normally, that would, building that size would be subdivided so you would have tenants, but these tenants are all under the same roof and the open space with the coffee shop and pharmacy, so it's a little different situation.
Got it.
You done?
I'm done. I'm
Okay.
done.
Anybody else? Okay.
Period. I should put a period.
Thank you for your adjustment.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next, we're moving to the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, if there's no objection, I'm going to move that we approve items 5 and 6, the entire consent agenda in one motion.
Okay. Second.
Ryan, second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by show of hands. Thank you. Now we'll move to our regular agenda. First, consider a request for a variance from section 70.31.2, building signs of the City of Griffin sign ordinance to permit 455 square feet of building signs in excess of the 15% and 220 square feet provision for property located at 1465 Highway 16 West.
Madam,
Make a motion to approve.
And I would like to second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0, thank you. Next, consider an agreement between the City of Griffin and Sky Design to conduct the Griffin branding program.
Make a motion to approve.
second.
Well, I'd like, we got a motion in a second. $35,000 is an awful lot of money to get a new slogan for our city, isn't it?
35,000, yes, ma'am, and in actual fact, it's actually kind of on the low end when you compare to what some communities have paid, and when we've done the research in terms of branding. It's not just going to be a slogan. It's going to be, they're going to look at a slogan. They're going to look at a specific logo for us, as well as look at wayfinding signage for us as well. It's going to be a comprehensive approach, even when we look at website design and newsletter design, making sure that all those things are encompassing whatever that, through that public process that they're going to engage in, whatever that slogan or logos come out, that they're reflective in all of our materials that we submit, which is not always the case with what we have today. So it's going to be a comprehensive approach of how we look at the city and how we market the city.
How many times have we looked at the city and had consultants to come in and, and paid out good city money for an outsider's opinion of us?
Well, Ms. Todd, is not going to be an outside opinion of us. What they're going to do is they're going to sit down with you guys, sit down with the public, to get a feel for what people see Griffin as, the strengths, the weaknesses, and working with that core group of you guys and the citizens, develop a branding campaign for the city of Griffin. And so it's not going to be something that the consultants bring into us and say, this is what we want for you. They're basically going to work with us to determine what we want for ourselves and how we want to market it and what it's going to be, and then project that into a program for us. So it's going to be them facilitating the process, working through us, city staff, city leaders, and stakeholders in the community.
Okay, you've answered my question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a budgeted item.
Yes, this was budgeted. This was a goal that was presented for our fiscal year, for our calendar year last year.
It's actually been a goal for about 4 years.
4 years.
And we kept delaying it due to funds, and this year we budgeted. We actually came up with the price, and we put the request for qualifications out to get all we could get for the price. The $35,000 was the amount that we allocated in the budget. And we told them, how much can we get for $35,000?
I heard you say, mention the stakeholders. How would the stakeholders be involved?
The stakeholders are going to be, basically what they're going to do is, obviously, they're going to use us as staff to help them determine who are some folks we need to listen to, as well as put out to the public folks and have meetings, public meetings. So the stakeholders are going to be folks that just walk in the door, which are ordinary citizens, as we've typically done on our planning programs, is that we have an open forum, we advertise it through you guys as well, through public medium, and folks are able to come in, give input, but we also say to them, hey, here's some other key stakeholders from around the community that we've addressed, folks who've been involved in the past, and they'll contact those individuals and all bring them into the Welcome Center and go through this process with them.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands.
Reluctant.
7-0. Thank you. 6-1.
Now, let's see Ryan here go, he can make it big.
Yeah. His was the first one went up.
He waved that.
6-1, okay. Consider a resolution closing Mount Zion Road between its intersection with West Poplar Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard by path US 19 and 41 South Route 3 in order to provide for development of the new Kroger project.
Chairman, I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Thank you. Okay, consider a contract with Champion Turf Farm in the amount of $49,500 for the replacement of turf for the city municipal golf course.
Chris, is that going to be for all 18 holes? Wow. How'd you get such a good price?
That's the standard price.
Oh, is it?
We're doing a lot of work in preparation for the coming.
Okay.
But yes, ma'am, that's, they didn't give us a deal. That's what they get.
Okay. And this is coming out of the escrow account, the one that was paid into by the golfers
Yes, ma'am.
and has accumulated this money all this time for capital improvements. Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second it?
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion?
I'm going to vote against this, not because I'm against the Champion Turf Farms or their job, but I just think tax money to keep supporting the airport,
It's not tax money.
I understand that. It's
Well-
not for this, but it is support the continual losses of the golf course, and that's my objection.
Okay. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 6-1. Thank you. Consider approval to award bid to Fireline Incorporated for an E1 78-foot aerial ladder truck in the amount of $642,724 for the Griffin Fire Department.
That's a chunk, Mr. Fireman.
Good evening, friends. I want to talk to you real briefly about the acquisition of this
His friends tonight.
78-foot aerial truck.
Yeah. That's a good sucker.
We call it Quint. 78-foot aerial will provide a tremendous amount of flexibility in a new mission that we're trying at Griffin Fire Rescue. We're very excited about as we convert Station 3 to a special operations company. The with the purchase of this truck, we'll be able to sell 2 trucks, including a 37-year-old snorkel aerial and an open cab truck, which the NFPA does not recognize anymore. This truck will become ladder 3. It'll be based out of Station 3, and this will. We are a Class 2 ISO rating, and we are barely a Class 2 ISO rating because we do not run an aerial to every structure fire. Certainly with our 105-foot elevated platform, there's just streets, it's just not practical to run it down. This will give us the flexibility to have an aerial on every structure fire and give us a very comfortable cushion with our Class 2 ISO rating. So,
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Uh,
You can have a second, I'll go third.
I have a motion and a second. Did you say we were selling something?
Is it brand new, Tommy?
this is brand new.
Okay,
We're
and-
selling 2
We've never
trucks.
had a brand new truck, have
It's
we?
been a while. No, I'm just kidding. No, you've done.
I got
very
so
well.
tickled at him when he come.
Yeah, we will sell 2 trucks, including the 37-year-old.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by show of hands. Okay. Consider a resolution to amend the City of Griffin Stormwater Fiscal Year 2011-2012 operating budget for donations of $2,800 from vendors who sponsored annual erosion and sedimentation day.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the amendment.
A motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Consider post-approval of Commission Bay attendance at the National Youth at Risk Conference in Savannah, Georgia, March 4th through 7th.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Okay, thank you. Now, do you have the city manager's report?
Yes, ma'am. The Georgia Municipal Association has asked if we would like to host a district meeting. Originally, it was April 19th, however, the Welcome Center is booked, so they asked us if April the 26th, which is open at the Welcome Center. That would involve us being a host to at least half the district, would involve using the Welcome Center and providing a meal for those attendees. So I told our district rep that I would let them know after we discussed it. If anybody has any input on that.
What
Did we get a chance to eat too?
Yes, sir, we would be.
Saves driving, I
On the
like it.
26th. The 26th. Is that good for all y'all?
April.
April,
Yeah.
You good with it?
Do you want to do it, sir?
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
No, you'll be hosting, so it's okay.
You'll be paying the bill.
Maybe we should
Just a
ask
minute.
Judy.
I know who'll be doing the work.
No,
Let's ask
don't
Judy,
ask
that's
Judy,
right.
I know
She's doing the
what
work.
Judy's gonna say.
Okay.
We can add that to our task list. We would be honored if that's what the board wants to do.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
We'll put a committee together to work on that.
Okay.
Along those lines, I'm in budget meetings that we started on Monday, so if you try to find me, and I'm locked up in the conference room over the next several weeks, you'll know we're hard into budget reviews. I'll be speaking to the Lions Club tomorrow night, Thursday night, actually, at J. Henry's. And everyone knows by now that we've received the resignation of Mr. Gardner, Planning and Development Director. He'll be leaving us. His last day will be the 23rd. And tomorrow afternoon, on the 3rd floor in our conference room, we'll have a little going away, not celebration, reception. We'll have a going away reception.
Wait.
Tomorrow, well, he's not surprised anymore.
Is it true that Drew is going to be his attorney?
I'm not sure.
Cooper.
Drew, are you also the...
downside to everything, Joe.
You're the city attorney from McDonough,
He has to put up with me wherever he goes.
and you drew his contract up. Mercy.
Well,
And
we
you
started
still
not
let
to
him
give him
go.
one, but he was kind of insistent on it.
We told him he'd pay his golf membership for a year just to go away, but did they work
Well,
it out?
I would
Those
say
are all
that
my
he's gone away
comments.
to a very fine job. So I think that we should congratulate him tremendously on going from Director of Planning and Development to the City Manager for the City of McDonough.
And we will do that.
That is unreal. That's wonderful.
Okay. Drew, you have
I have
anything?
no comments.
Okay.
We're good development city, aren't we?
Commissioner Bayer?
Yes, I would like to just further congratulate you. You've done a wonderful job. And also, I would like to thank the board for approving last week down in Savannah. It was very informative, and I met a lot of contacts, got a lot of information. I was able to add that information to my program that I had this past Saturday over at Head Park, that really turned out well. And I plan to use that information in the future, a lot of that information in the future.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morrow?
We're having a fairly successful session with the legislature. GMA has managed to beat down a lot of anti-city legislation. I think we're going to come through almost unscathed. On the other thing, GMA is working on a fuel hedging program for the cities, and Kenny and I will be going up there, I think, a week from Friday to go through the presentation, which would help damp out fuel fluctuations, price fluctuations, and they think it'll be good for the city. So I'll keep you posted on what GMA comes up with.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hobart?
Stream cleanup is March 24th at the old Walmart Shopping Center. So anybody wants to get dirty, starting about 9 o'clock. Dr. Keller usually cooks some burgers and stuff at the evening, so it's a great opportunity. And Frederick, would you please stand?
I want to just tell you personally, thank you for what you've done for this community. You've brought character back to the building and inspection department, and it's just been a joy and a pleasure to have you as a business person as well as a commissioner and a planner for this community. We'll look back 20 and 50 years from now if we're still floating around and look at the ideas that you presented in outside the box thinking. Just God bless you and your family, and thank you for what you did for Griffin and Spalding County.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Commissioner McElmore?
Yeah, I'll see Frederick tomorrow to surprise farewell. Big and make some comments. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to replace it. So, but I'm excited for it. But we'll see you tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Okay. No comment. Oh.
Frederick, I'll echo the comments made by Doug. Took a while to get used to you, but I tell you. Well, I have to say, the first time that I met Frederick, he was to be the speaker, and he was 30 minutes late. But you know what? You surpassed everything that I ever expected, and you did bring honor back to our planning and zoning department. And you're not too far away that we can every now and then drop in and see you.
I'm not going to say anything, because if I do, I'm going to start crying. So I'm just going to wait. But I will say this. I called today. I was calling Jennifer for something, and Frederick answered the phone. I was like, Kenny going to work you to death before you leave. But anyway, if there's no further comment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.